First contact gone wrong. The summer sun beat down on New Sacramento, capital of the North American Union. Children played in sprinklers on neatly manicured lawns while their parents chatted on front porches, sipping cold lemonade. It was a scene of perfect suburban tranquility, one that was about to be shattered forever. High above the planet, undetected by Earth's primitive radar systems, a massive alien vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel. Supreme Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Empire surveyed the blue-green world on his view screen with cold, calculating eyes. "Prepare the harvester beam," he ordered. "This primitive world will make an excellent addition to our energy extraction network." On the streets below, 10-year-old Tommy Chen was the first to notice something was wrong. The sky suddenly darkened, as if a storm cloud had appeared out of nowhere. But when Tommy looked up, his eyes widened in awe and terror. Floating above the city was an enormous spaceship, easily the size of a small moon. Its hull was a sleek gunmetal gray, covered in strange glowing symbols. As Tommy stared in disbelief, a beam of sickly green light shot down from the ship's underside. The beam struck a nearby park, vaporizing trees and grass in an expanding circle of destruction. Panicked screams filled the air as people ran for cover. But there was nowhere to hide from the alien onslaught. Tommy's father, David Chen, a physicist at the nearby quantum research lab, raced out of the house and scooped up his son. "We have to get to the lab," he yelled over the chaos. "It's the only place that might be shielded." As they sped through the streets in David's electric car, dodging fleeing pedestrians and abandoned vehicles, Tommy watched in horror as the green beam swept across neighborhoods, leaving nothing but ash in its wake. Tears streamed down his face as he thought of his friends, his school, everything he'd ever known. Gone in an instant. They skidded to a stop outside the quantum lab, a white monolithic structure on the outskirts of the city. David punched in his access code with shaking fingers and hustled Tommy inside just as another blast from the alien ship obliterated the parking lot behind them. In the lab's control room, banks of supercomputers hummed while frantic scientists argued about what to do. Dr. Sarah Kimura, the lab's director, turned to David with a grim expression. "Chen, thank God you're here. We're picking up energy readings unlike anything we've ever seen. Whatever that ship is using, it's beyond our current understanding of physics." David nodded grimly. "We need to find a way to communicate with them, make them stop this senseless destruction." But before they could act, alarms blared throughout the facility. The beam was getting closer. "Everyone to the quantum shielding chamber," Sarah shouted. "It's our only hope." They raced through sterile white corridors to a circular room at the heart of the facility. Sarah sealed the heavy blast doors behind them, just as a blinding flash lit up the external cameras. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the lab but a smoking crater. Inside the chamber, Tommy clung to his father, trembling. The other scientists huddled around computer readouts, desperately trying to make sense of what was happening. Suddenly, all the screens went dark. A bone-chilling voice echoed through the chamber. "Inhabitants of Earth, your planet has been chosen for energy extraction by decree of the Galactic Empire. Resistance is futile. Prepare for processing." Sarah's face went pale. "They're going to strip mine the entire planet. We have to stop them." But what could one group of scientists do against an alien armada? As the humans huddled in their fragile shelter, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Humanity's greatest trial was just beginning. Earth united in crisis. The quantum shielding chamber beneath what was once New Sacramento buzzed with frantic activity. For 3 days, the small group of survivors had watched in horror as the Garaxian ships methodically harvested Earth's resources. Cities fell silent, oceans were drained, and vast swathes of forest vanished into the maw of the alien vessels. Dr. Sarah Kimura wiped sweat from her brow as she pored over sensor readings. "The good news is, our quantum comm link is still operational. We're receiving scattered transmissions from other survival bunkers around the world." David Chen looked up from where he was comforting his son Tommy. Any word from the government? The military? Sarah shook her head grimly. Most of the world's leadership is gone, but there's a coalition forming. Scientists, military strategists, whoever's left. They're calling themselves the Earth Defense Council. As if on cue, the main view screen flickered to life. A stern-faced woman in a tattered military uniform appeared. This is General Helena Vasquez of the EDC. If you're receiving this, you're one of the last bastions of human resistance. We need your help. The survivors gathered around the screen as Vasquez continued. Our analysts have been studying the alien energy signatures. We believe their technology operates on principles of quantum entanglement, far beyond our current capabilities, but not, perhaps, beyond our understanding. David's eyes widened. The quantum tunnel experiment. Sarah, remember that test run we did last month? Sarah nodded excitedly. We managed to transmit matter through a microscopic wormhole. It was unstable, but it might be the key to fighting back. Vasquez finished. We're patching together a global network of survivors. Scientists, engineers, soldiers. Everyone has a role to play. Humanity stands on the brink, but we're not going down without a fight. Over the next weeks, the survivors of New Sacramento worked tirelessly. David and Sarah led a team refining the quantum tunnel technology, while others scavenged for supplies and maintained their fragile hideout. Tommy, despite his youth, proved invaluable in squeezing through tight spaces to repair damaged systems. Above ground, the situation grew dire. The Garaxian ships had stripped nearly a third of the planet, leaving barren wastelands in their wake. But in hidden bunkers and secret labs around the world, humanity prepared to strike back. General Vasquez's face appeared on screens in every survivor enclave. My fellow humans, the time has come. Our scientists have reverse-engineered key components of the alien technology. We're not just going to defend Earth, we're taking the fight to the stars. A cheer went up from the assembled survivors. For the first time since the invasion began, hope blossomed. But we need your help, Vasquez continued. Every enclave has a crucial role to play. Some will manufacture components for our new fleet. Others will train pilots and soldiers. And some, she paused, her expression grim, some will undertake dangerous missions to gather intel on the enemy. In the New Sacramento bunker, David and Sarah exchanged a look. They knew their expertise would be needed on the front lines of this new cosmic battlefield. Tommy, who had been listening intently, spoke up. What about me? I want to help too. David knelt beside his son. Tommy, what you've done already is incredible, but the fights ahead, they're not for children. I'm not a child anymore, Tommy said firmly. Not after what I've seen. Please, Dad, let me do my part. Before David could respond, alarms blared throughout the bunker. Sarah rushed to the sensor array, her face paling. We've got incoming. A Garaxian scout ship, heading right for us. The bunker erupted into controlled chaos as everyone rushed to battle stations. David hesitated, torn between protecting his son and defending their home. Tommy grabbed his father's hand. Together, Dad. We fight together. With a nod, David led Tommy to the hastily constructed defense grid. As the first tremors of alien weapons fire shook the bunker, father and son stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. Around the world, similar scenes played out as humanity steeled itself for the greatest fight in its history. The Galactic Empire had awakened a sleeping giant, and now, Earth would show the galaxy why you should never, ever underestimate the human spirit. The Great Preparation. The months following the initial Garaxian assault were a blur of feverish activity. Humanity, pushed to the brink of extinction, found reserves of ingenuity and determination that surprised even themselves. The Earth Defense Council coordinated a global effort unlike anything in history, uniting the remnants of humanity towards a single goal: survival. In the reinforced bunker beneath New Sacramento, David Chen and Sarah Kimura worked tirelessly to perfect the quantum tunnel technology. Their breakthrough came on a cold winter night when they successfully teleported a small probe across the room. "We did it," Sarah exclaimed, her eyes bright with exhaustion and triumph. "If we can scale this up." David nodded, already running calculations in his head. "We could potentially move entire ships across vast distances. It's our ticket to taking the fight to the Garaxians." Meanwhile, Tommy had thrown himself into helping wherever he could. He'd grown lean and strong, losing the softness of childhood in the harsh new world. Today, he was assisting with the installation of a new power core, his small size allowing him to reach places adults couldn't. "Tommy," called out Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's engineer, "can you reconnect that plasma conduit? Carefully now." With steady hands that belied his age, Tommy made the connection. The power core hummed to life, bathing the room in a soft blue glow. "Great work, kid," Yuki said with a grin. "You've got a real knack for this." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In the flooded ruins of London, marine biologists worked to genetically engineer algae that could rapidly cleanse water of Garaxian pollutants. Deep in the Brazilian rainforest, botanists developed hardy plants capable of reclaiming stripped earth. And in a hidden base beneath the Himalayas, military strategists pored over every scrap of intel on Garaxian tactics and technology. 6 months after the invasion, General Vasquez called a global briefing. Her holographic image appeared in survivor enclaves worldwide. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice filled with steel. "Today marks a turning point. Thanks to your incredible efforts, we're ready to begin construction of our defense fleet." Cheers erupted in bunkers and hideouts across the planet. Vasquez continued, "Using the quantum tunnel technology developed by Dr. Chen and Dr. Kimura, we'll be able to construct our ships in secret, scattered facilities. The Garaxians won't know what hit them until it's too late." She paused, her expression growing somber. "But make no mistake. The road ahead is long and dangerous. We're not just building ships, we're redesigning our entire civilization for war." In New Sacramento, David pulled Tommy close as they listened. The boy's eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and determination. "Over the next year," Vasquez explained, "each of you will be assigned crucial roles in Operation Stardust. Some will train as pilots and crew for our new fleet. Others will continue pushing the boundaries of science and engineering. And some," she hesitated, "some will be asked to make the ultimate sacrifice." A hush fell over the assembled survivors. They all knew the risks, but hearing it stated so bluntly drove home the gravity of their situation. "But remember this," Vasquez said, her voice rising with passion. "Everything the Garaxians have thrown at us, we've survived. They thought they could break us. Instead, they'd forged us into something stronger. We are humanity united, and we will take back our world." The next year was a whirlwind of activity. Vast underground factories sprang up, using scavenged and repurposed materials to construct humanity's first interstellar warships. The quantum tunnel technology allowed components to be built in scattered locations, then assembled in secret orbital facilities. David and Sarah split their time between refining the quantum drives and training the first generation of human faster-than-light pilots. Tommy, much to his father's mix of pride and concern, showed a natural aptitude for the complex mathematics involved and was soon assisting with navigation calculations. It wasn't all smooth sailing. Garaxian patrols would occasionally discover a human enclave, leading to desperate battles. But with each encounter, humanity learned more about their enemies' weaknesses and adapted their strategies accordingly. In a hidden shipyard beneath the Pacific Ocean, the first human dreadnought took shape. Christened the Terra Nova, it incorporated everything humanity had learned about Garaxian technology, enhanced by human ingenuity. Its quantum drive could cross galaxies in the blink of an eye. Its weapons were capable of reducing planets to ash. And its crew was the finest Earth had to offer. As the day of reckoning approached, General Vasquez addressed the troops one final time. "Tomorrow, we take the fight to the stars. Remember what we're fighting for. Not just our own survival, but the right of all sentient beings to live free from tyranny. The Garaxians thought they could exterminate us like insects. It's time to show them that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. In the launch bay of the Terra Nova, David hugged Tommy tightly. Against all his protective instincts, he had to acknowledge that his son had earned his place on this mission. "I'm scared, Dad," Tommy admitted quietly. "Me too," David replied. "But being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing what's right even when you are scared." As klaxons sounded throughout the ship, signaling final launch preparations, father and son shared one last look of understanding. Whatever the cosmos held in store, they would face it together. The great hatches opened, revealing the star-studded blackness of space. With a flash of quantum energy, the Terra Nova and its sister ships winked out of existence, ready to carry the hopes and fury of humanity to the far reaches of the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming. Humanity's counterattack. The vast emptiness of space shimmered as the Terra Nova and its sister ships materialized at the edge of the Garaxian home system. On the bridge, General Vasquez stood tall, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien armada ahead. "All ships, report in," she commanded. One by one, the captains of Earth's fledgling fleet signaled their readiness. Last came the Terra Nova's own captain, a grizzled veteran named Jameson. "Terra Nova, ready and eager, General." Vasquez nodded grimly. "Remember the plan. The Garaxians don't know we're here yet. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we show these bastards what happens when you mess with Earth." In the ship's engineering bay, David Chen made last-minute adjustments to the quantum drive. Beside him, Tommy monitored the energy fluctuations, his young face set in concentration. "Power levels optimal, Dad," Tommy reported. "We're good to go." David allowed himself a moment of pride. Despite his fears, his son had proven himself invaluable to the mission. "Great work, kiddo. Now let's hope this works as well in combat as it did in the simulations." The ship's intercom crackled to life. "All hands, battle stations. Prepare for quantum jump in 3, 2, 1. With a flash of energy, the human fleet vanished, only to reappear moments later in the heart of the Garaxian formation. Caught completely off guard, the alien ships scrambled to respond. "Fire at will." Vasquez's voice rang out across the command channel. The space around them erupted in a dazzling display of destructive power. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from the human ships, slicing through Garaxian hulls like paper. Quantum torpedoes blinked in and out of existence, bypassing shields to detonate inside enemy vessels. On the Garaxian flagship, Supreme Commander Zixtal watched in disbelief as his supposedly invincible armada was thrown into chaos. "Impossible," he hissed. "How did these primitives—" His words were cut short as the Terra Nova materialized directly in front of his ship. The two vessels hung in space, dwarfing the battle raging around them. In engineering, alarms blared as the ship's systems were pushed to their limits. "We can't maintain this position for long," David shouted over the din. "The quantum field is destabilizing." Tommy's fingers flew over his console. "I'm rerouting power from non-essential systems. It should buy us a few more minutes." On the bridge, Vasquez opened a channel to the Garaxian flagship. "This is General Helena Vasquez of Earth. You came to our world, murdered our people, and thought we would just lie down and die. You were wrong." Zixtal's alien features contorted in rage. "You dare challenge the might of the Garaxian Empire. Your species will be eradicated for this insolence." His transmission cut off abruptly as Vasquez signaled the attack. The Terra Nova unleashed its full arsenal, joined by the rest of the human fleet. The Garaxian flagship's shields flickered and failed under the onslaught. But the aliens weren't going down without a fight. Return fire rocked the Terra Nova, overloading systems and causing explosions across multiple decks. "Hull breach in Section 7. An officer called out. Emergency force fields are holding, but we can't take much more of this. In engineering, David and Tommy worked feverishly to keep the ship's vital systems online. Suddenly, a massive explosion tore through the deck above them. The ceiling buckled, sending a shower of debris down on them. "Tommy," David cried out, searching frantically through the smoke and sparks. He found his son pinned under a fallen beam, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. With strength born of desperation, David lifted the beam. Tommy crawled out, coughing but alive. "I'm okay, Dad," he wheezed. "But the quantum drive." They turned to see the drive core pulsing erratically on the verge of collapse. If it went, it would take half the system with it. David's mind raced. There was only one way to contain the reaction, but it would mean. He looked at his son, seeing the understanding dawn in Tommy's eyes. "No, Dad, there has to be another way," Tommy pleaded. David pulled him into a fierce hug. "I'm so proud of you, Tommy. So proud. Now go. Help finish this fight." Before Tommy could protest further, David shoved him through the emergency airlock, sealing it behind him. Then he turned to face the malfunctioning drive, determination etched on his face. On the bridge, Vasquez watched as the Garaxian flagship began to break apart under their assault. Victory was within grasp, but the cost. "General," Tommy's voice came over the comm, choked with tears. "My dad. He's..." Vasquez closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself a moment of grief for a brave man. Then her resolve hardened. "All ships, this is General Vasquez. Push forward. We end this now, for Earth and for every soul we've lost." The human fleet surged forward, their weapons blazing. The Garaxian ships, already in disarray, began to retreat, but there would be no escape this time. As the last enemy vessel winked out of existence, fleeing through its own FTL technology, a solemn quiet fell over the human fleet. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. In the Terra Nova's medical bay, Tommy sat quietly, staring at the stars through a small porthole. Sarah Kimura approached, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Your father was a hero," she said softly. "And so are you, Tommy. We couldn't have done this without you." Tommy nodded, his young face marked by grief, but also by a steely determination. "We've shown them we can fight back," he said. "But it's not over, is it?" Sarah shook her head. "No, it's not. But thanks to your dad, and to you, we've got a real chance now. We're going to take back our planet. And then," she paused, looking out at the vast expanse of space, "then we're going to make sure no one ever threatens Earth again." As the fleet regrouped, preparing for the long journey home, the first transmissions from Earth began to come in. News of the victory spread like wildfire through hidden bunkers and secret bases. For the first time in over a year, humanity dared to hope. The Galactic Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had awoken a sleeping giant, and now the galaxy would never be the same. A new galactic order. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Garaxia Prime. Earth, once a scorched and harvested world, was slowly healing. Green shoots pushed through the barren soil, and the first new cities rose from the ashes of the old. But the planet's scars ran deep, a constant reminder of the price of victory. In orbit above the regenerating world, a massive space station served as humanity's new seat of government. The United Earth Council chamber buzzed with activity as representatives from every surviving nation gathered for a historic session. Tommy Chen, now 15 and already regarded as one of Earth's brightest young minds, stood at the podium. Though still bearing the weight of his father's sacrifice, he had channeled his grief into determination, becoming a symbol of humanity's resilience. "Distinguished counselors," Tommy began, his voice strong despite his youth. "5 years ago, we faced extinction. Today, we stand as a galactic power. But with that power comes great responsibility." The chamber fell silent, all eyes on the young prodigy. "Our fleets have liberated dozens of worlds from Garaxian control. We've made allies among species we never knew existed. But we've also seen the fear in their eyes. Fear that we might become the very thing we fought against. General Vasquez, now Earth's military chief, nodded gravely. She knew all too well the temptation to use their newfound strength to dominate rather than protect. Tawny continued, "That's why I propose the formation of the Galactic Cooperative. Not an Earth-led empire, but a true alliance of free worlds. Together, we can ensure that no species ever suffers as we did under the Garaxians." Debate erupted in the chamber. Some argued for a more aggressive stance, to cement Earth's position as the dominant force in the galaxy. Others feared that opening their borders to alien influences might leave them vulnerable to future threats. As the arguments raged, a commotion at the chamber's entrance drew everyone's attention. A delegation of alien beings entered. Representatives from the worlds Earth had liberated. At their head walked a familiar face, Dr. Sarah Kimura, who had spent the last few years as Earth's chief diplomat to the stars. "Esteemed counselors," Sarah addressed the chamber, "I bring you greetings and a message of hope from our galactic neighbors. They have seen our strength, yes, but also our compassion. They do not seek our rule, but our partnership." One by one, the alien representatives stepped forward. A towering crystalline being spoke in a voice like chiming bells. "The Garaxians sought to divide us, to pit world against world. Earth showed us the power of unity." A small furred creature barely reaching Tommy's knee chittered excitedly. "Your quantum technology has revolutionized travel and communication across the galaxy. Imagine what we could achieve if we shared all our knowledge freely." The chamber listened in awe as each species recounted how humanity's actions had changed their worlds for the better. The tide of opinion began to shift. Watching from her seat, General Vasquez felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For years, she had carried the burden of the lives lost in the war, wondering if the cost had been too high. Now, seeing the fruits of their sacrifice, she finally allowed herself to feel hope for the future. As the last alien speaker concluded, Tommy took the podium once more. "We stand at a crossroads," he said, his voice filled with passion. "We can choose fear and isolation, or hope and cooperation. I know which path my father would have chosen." The vote, when it came, was nearly unanimous. The Galactic Cooperative would become a reality, with Earth as a founding member, but not its ruler. A new era of exploration, scientific advancement, and mutual defense was about to begin. As the council chamber erupted in cheers, Tommy slipped away to a quiet observation deck. He stared out at the stars, thinking of his father and all those who had given their lives to make this moment possible. Sarah found him there, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Your dad would be so proud of you, Tommy. Of all of us." Tommy nodded, blinking back tears. "Do you think we did the right thing, offering peace instead of demanding revenge?" Sarah smiled softly. "I think we did the human thing. We faced our darkest hour and came out of it not with hate, but with hope. That's what makes us who we are." As they stood there, watching Earth slowly rotate below them, a quantum communication alert chimed. A new signal from a sector of space previously thought empty. First contact with yet another intelligent species. Tommy and Sarah shared a look of excitement and apprehension. The galaxy, it seemed, still held many surprises. But whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them not alone, but as part of a greater galactic community. The Garaxian invasion had nearly destroyed humanity. Instead, it had propelled them to the stars, forging them into something greater than they had ever imagined possible. As the quantum signal pulsed, heralding the next chapter in their cosmic journey, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never forget the day it learned that humanity, when pushed to the brink, was a force of nature unlike any other.